Anthony Accatatta, shipfitter, second class. One time we were in Puerto Rico, in Las Piedras, Puerto Rico, and it was on a Sunday. We were on holiday routine, and we were just dressed in our whites and just hanging around. I had the duty, and they called away the damage control party. And I said, that's strange. And because they didn't say it was a fire on board. Usually they would say that there's a fire in such and such compartment, and you would head there. But they just called away the damage control party and meet on the quarterdeck, which we did. And the officer in charge, the officer of the day, of the deck actually, said there's a native freighter, a coastal freighter that's sinking, and it's coming into the harbor, and it's flying the U.S. flag upside down, and it's radioed for assistance. And we radioed back that for him to pull in front of us, and we've got to go over there and see if we can help this guy out. So we took our pumps and hoses and damage control equipment, and this guy came in. He was like, not even 5 minutes, he was there and tied up. And we go on board, and this was a freighter that was probably 150 feet, 160 feet long. It was just a coastal freighter, but it was in such poor shape, rust all over it. So what was happening, they were taking water on the bow, and the bow was actually down somewhat in the water. And we talked to the captain, we go on board, and I had the guys starting to rig eductors and pumps, and the first thing was to try to dewater this thing so it wouldn't sink. Which we did. We got the pumps set up, and they were carrying concrete, cement rather, and they were delivering it to the various islands. They would go to an island, pick up a cargo, deliver a cargo, and just keep going from island to island. So it was right in the bow of the ship, and we got the thing to start dewatering. We were pumping it out, and finally we could see where the water was coming in. One of the things we use in damage control are wooden plugs, either round ones or a square type plug like a wedge, and we would drive that into a hole or a broken pipe on there, and I was on board there for about a day. And then from there they helicoptered me to the Harwood and dropped me to the deck from the helicopter, and I was on board then. And then we spent the next couple of weeks patrolling, looking for the Cuban ships, the Russian ships going to Cuba. And we were told to keep our distance from them. They weren't going to board them, but they just wanted to get photographs of them, and they said there may be cases where we do want to board them, but that never came about. We got some photos, and it was deck cargo, but we couldn't tell what the cargo was. And I think there was only one case of that. I didn't realize the severity of that crisis until probably about 10 years later, when I saw a documentary on TV on how close we came to nuclear war. An example of that, and it's sad that it happens this way. One time, well, two times, we were a secondary pickup vessel for the astronauts. And if they didn't land by the carrier that was designated to pick them up, they had ships stationed all around the world. If something went wrong, they could have dropped into the ocean anywhere. And we were one of those ships. And I had a very good Zenith all-wave radio. And we were stationed off the coast of Florida. And I had the radio going, and I was able to pick up a New York station. And they were talking about the astronauts coming down. Now, here we are as a pickup vessel. Our captain would come on the 1MC every 15 minutes and update us on where the capsule was in its flight and that type of information. I was getting information from the civilian radio station in New York about 15 minutes earlier than the ship was getting it. So you really kept in the dark. And I don't know if that's by design or by technology, I don't know. But we never really felt the severity of the crisis like they felt in Washington, D.C. This was back in the days of Gemini and
Mercury.
And Mercury, yeah. And what they did, they gave us some special equipment, which I had to weld to the deck of the Harwood to be able to pick up these capsules. We would use a boat davit, but they needed special rigs, and that was one of the things that we had to do, was weld these fixtures to the deck. But I think there was only one destroyer that actually ever picked up a capsule, and that was the USS Noah, N-O-A. But we never got the opportunity to do so.